from the gutter. Alright, if you're one of those metalheads that tends to swim a little closer to the surface or near the middle of it all, I'd say that's probably me, you probably recognize this logo. Or maybe still, if most of your time spent with a lot of deeper bands considered more obscure or underground, you might still be familiar. But wherever you dwell, Metal Injection's largely regarded as the commercial hub online for heavy metal. Today, and over the last bunch of years. The heart of the organization is its highly visited website, and they're always working directly with bands themselves, whether they're doing promotions or merch giveaways or even exclusive debuts. But perhaps where it earns most of its integrity is the fact that no band, regardless of size or notoriety, is excluded from coverage. And proof of this is manifested in the form of a multi-day festival, with the inaugural taking place last year. So that means this year will mark the second. It's happening September 21st and 22nd at Brooklyn Monarch Meadows, with 31 bands spread across 3 stages. And in this video, we're gonna take a look at all of them. But like I said, true to Metal Injection's spirit, the lineup's got some very well-known names to the mainstream, and then a whole bunch below those, and then a very decent number from the depths. Before we check them all out though, check this out. I got a chance to connect with the fest's main organizer, Godla, who also happens to be Metal Injection's founder. He gave me an excellent lowdown on how each band came to be picked and the stuff that goes into making it all happen, and just like this and that related. Here's a few excerpts. How much of the selection came down to you know, being big fans of the bands versus knowing what people were going to want to see?
I love that question. So I think I would say, very honestly, maybe like 90%.
Wow.
Is me and just like the stuff that I love. I mean, it's amazing to showcase bands that I really think truly deserve a push, you know, in the right direction and everything. And then of course have the heavyweights, and those heavyweights, I mean, like Ginger, for instance, you know, some people might think that it's like too unlike the stuff that I listen to. I mean, I have a really wide range, you know, in terms of what I personally like and listen to, you know, when I'm not on the clock or you know, doing this kind of thing, whatever. And Ginger is such a terrific band and amazing people. Like, I love hanging out with them and seeing them, and I know that they're a big band. I know that they're a big get for this festival. I know that they kill it every time they touch the stage. So like, and they just have this passion and ferocity that I love to watch. And of course, same thing. I mean, Converge. Years and years and years of watching Converge. Like, of course, I love that band to pieces and want to see them do their thing for me. The Ranges of Blood. That's just like such a specialty thing. I wound up. I was actually talking to Ash, the drummer, for a long time before they wound up doing the reunion shows in Canada. They've only done a handful of shows so far as this reunion, and I think I might have asked him even like way before they even set their own reunion show in Vancouver. I wound up asking if there's any way to get them part of this, the Metal Injection Fest, and it was always like in the background. We actually tried to get it going for the last festival in 2023, but it didn't pan out. And so I'm really happy to have them as part of this edition. God forbid, similar story. Like, I mean, I grew up with those dudes. I know them forever and ever. Doc Coyle's a personal friend outside of all this. Like, we go to dinners and stuff together. So it's as easy as texting friends sometimes to kind of complete stuff, you know. And that's the case with a lot of this stuff, including, you know, Revocation, Car Bomb, of course. Pallid Veil just seemed to make a lot of sense for me. Pallid Veil, I don't think a lot of people know about this band yet, but it's basically a super group that I put together.
Wow, you had a hand in putting it together.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, so during the pandemic, I did this thing called Slay at Home, and I wound up taking. I took a lot of inspiration from European festivals that I love, and one of them being Roadburn Festival in Holland, and I loved their whole commission set series. So like every year, Walter would, you know, take like really crazy things, like, oh, let's take Perturbator and Cult of Luna and pay them to create a new band, you know, like, and let's see what happens. And so I kind of took liberty, and I wound up doing that for Slay at Home during the pandemic, and it wound up being Liam of the Dillinger Escape Plan. He now plays in Flames Well for bass. Elliot from Car Bomb on drums, Luke LeMay of Gorguts on vocals, and Dave Davidson of Revocation on guitar. and they put out one song. We didn't even name the project or anything. They put out one song, and that song was called Pallid Veil. So now we're taking Pallid Veil, and I'm doing it again, except I asked them to write an entire set of music. So they'll have like 25, 30 minutes of music, which is enough for an EP or full-length release that we'll talk about later, you know, launching that on its own thing. But for now, this is the only way that you were going to witness this music that was created specifically for this show, you know? So stuff like this, these are all like cool tidbits. A lot of it's just being friends with most of these bands. You know, there's a couple of bands that I guess I mean, of course I like them, but I'm like, oh, I would have never thought about having that as part of the fest or what I do. But now that like the opportunity's there because they're, you know, like their agent asked or something like that, I'd be like, oh yeah, totally, why not? That totally works with what we're doing. They're a great band. So there's nothing, I can honestly say there's nothing on the bill that makes me feel uncomfortable about it being there, you know? I mean, there's a band called Hue on there, and it's they're a brand new band. They have one single out that came out like 8 days before I booked them on the fest. But that one single, to me, was so impressive that I'm like, you know what? Let's try this out. Let's take a band who just started, just put out their first single, throw them on a festival, and see what's gonna happen. Like I really, I don't know, believe in it. I believe in what they're doing, so I thought it'd be cool to have them.
That's so cool. What you're describing really, truly does seem very, very multi-dimensional, multi-pronged, because you got, I mean, a God forbid reunion taking place. You've got 3 Inches of Blood, who hasn't played New York in, I guess, over a decade. You've got the Cave-In acoustic set. But I just think that if you look at some of the bigger festivals the last bunch of years, the ones that were really successful, it's not just straight death metal or black metal or hardcore or something. You know what? And you mentioned Perturbator before. You've also got Ghost, the synthwave Ghost this time around, it sounds like.
Totally, yeah. James is a good friend. I mean, like, all those guys, actually. You know, I was an early supporter of Ghost and Perturbator and Carpenter Brood and just that whole techno side of metal or metal adjacent artists are some to me personally some of the most exciting things that have happened to our genre in a long time, you know? I mean, even stuff like Chelsea Wolfe or Woven Hand, or I mean, I listen to a lot of different shit. So yeah, I think a lot of it just comes down to liking a lot of stuff, you know, and trying to incorporate a little bit of everything that I do like. And to me, it's really important to have, you know, thrash, doom, industrial, death, black, like everything's represented, you know, in what we know as a metal festival.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like anybody's left out in terms of popularity levels, because as I mentioned before, you got a band like, you know, NECROFIER, you've got GOATWHORE, I'm sure there's a few others, even BODYBOX is certainly out there making a name for themselves, but you've got the bands that certain people that, you know, these days they call them gatekeepers, I just call them badasses, but you've got certain bands like that, you know, people are, they're all about, you know, and when bands like that get to a certain level, then they get renounced and everything. But at least for now, though, they're still underground enough to the point where you'll have fans like that show up and everything. And it's just a really well-balanced festival, I think, that you've got going on. And
you know, it's a lot of hard work to put something like this together. I mean, this is the second one I'm doing, and this one I'm even more involved because it's completely independent, whereas last year it was a co-pro with Live Nation. So this one is 100% independent, DIY, in every way, shape, and form, and it's just so much work. I just have a newfound respect for anybody who even attempts this, because it's like literally one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life, you know?
You kind of led me pretty well to my next question, which was, could you just briefly describe some of the things that go into it that their average person doesn't think putting a fest entails?
Yeah, I mean, everything, really. I don't want to put words in people's mouths or the mass public or anything like that, but I imagine they pay their ticket price, they walk in, and there it is, you know? But literally every single aspect has to be thought through or contracted in some way, down to the gates that you're stepping against, to the security guards that are contracted. Everything's a separate line item. It's all contracts, you know? So something like the Metal Injection Fest coming in September, if I'm not mistaken, it's close to like 70 different contracts that I have. and that includes, you know, bands, managers, you know, stage hands, local light and sound, the venue itself, you know, beer suppliers. Like, there's so much to it, man. Like, everybody has a piece of something like this, and you know, it's a labor of love, honestly. You know, I think maybe a misconception about festivals in general is that they make a ton of money, and you know, maybe some do, to be honest. You know, like the really big ones, but stuff like Milwaukee Metal Fest or New England or any of this stuff, like, we're doing it because, you know, we're idiots, really. There's definitely not a lot of money in it, man. So it's definitely a labor of love. I can guarantee you all 31 bands are going to bring it and show you something different, you know? And I strategically place them into like the lineup where I think it's going to work out really well, where it's just like you're not getting battered by one type of music. So it's a constant change up, you know? And I just think it's going to be a good time, man.
All right, so as far as I know, what days each band's playing, plus their set times, haven't been finalized yet, so I'm just going to start from the bottom. Or, in other words, perhaps I'd better start from the beginning. Who knows that one? Felon Fall, Vermin Dog, Del Judas, La Machia, Hugh, Uncured, Johnny Booth, Shock Withdrawal, Genocide Pact, NECROFIER, yeah, those dudes rip. The Phantom Eye, Vitriol, Cognitive, Hoth, Jesus Wept, Wretched, Born of Osiris, Ghost. This is, of course, Ghost, the synthwave act, not GHOST. And just like Jesse from Storm Ruler, I freaking love synthwave. Perturbator, Laserhawk, Miami Nights 1984. Just like Zebra Boy said in Heavy Metal Parking Lot, it all rules. BODYBOX. Man, let me tell you something about BODYBOX real quick. I first saw them last September with Crowbar, and talk about a fun band, man. If you don't know them, they're one of those slam type of grind acts, and just, if you're going, as I hope to as well, definitely make sure you catch their set, because I'm sure it's going to be an awesome one. Car Bomb, Oceans of Slumber, Pallid Veil. How unique is that? The band was assembled and commissioned solely for this event. GOATWHORE, hell yeah. Revocation, Rivers of Nile, Cave In, Steven and Adam going unplugged. Wow, an acoustic set, so I wonder if that's going to be a lot of stuff from Jupiter. Hanabi, 3 Inches of Blood, first time playing the East Coast in over a decade. God Forbid, yep, there's another set I ain't missing for nothing. Converge, alright, now while there's a lot of bands on this lineup that are gonna be new to me, I still gotta say, Converge is most definitely who I'm looking forward to seeing the most. And to tell you the truth, my familiarity with their catalog is honestly limited to Caring and Petitioning and When It Forever Comes Crashing, and the split with Agoraphobic Nosebleed. Can you believe I jumped off the Converge train right before Jane Doe? Everybody seems to call that one their magnum opus, but hey, I never claimed to be the wisest dude in the world. And I don't know, man, Forever's a very good record. But nonetheless, based on my love for the first bunch of albums, plus the praise so many people seem to give them, plus having seen them live a whole bunch of times years ago, plus the way they seem to still be able to bring it live, at least from what I've seen on YouTube, I sure as hell am gonna be psyched as hell to watch them again. And dive into Jane Doe and You Fail Me and stuff, etc. As soon as I finish filming this, yeah, there we go. And then finally, what appears to be the headliner, Ginger. So yeah, dude, there you go. In addition to all the bands, the flyer says there's gonna be a whole bunch of other stuff, plus some unannounced happenings, so we'll learn what that's all about come late September. And I want to send my sincere thanks to Mr. Frank Godla for taking the time to talk with me, and to Katie Irizarry at Suspiria Promos for hooking us up. What a nice, cool, friendly, just nice as hell dude, that Frank Godla. I can see why so many people love him in the industry. And I, honest to God, genuinely enjoyed my time chatting with him, and I hope he has a great time at the fest and everybody else too. So okay, maniacs, I am done. If you did like this video, cool, man, maybe you can give it a thumbs up. Or if you just like hearing somebody bullshit about heavy metal, then metallically inject your ass right into that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on Concrete Spew. But until then, stay crazy, my friends.